Good, good. So the co-host Stephen has just had to leave us for 30 minutes. So just to give you the rundown, Phil, we're live for 24 hours. We've got viewers from all over the world. We've got some, besides myself, obviously, some world leading speakers within the carnivore keto community. So Stephen's just nipped out, so it's just you and I to touch base. But what I wanted to do, I mean, you've kindly agreed to come on and share part of your journey. Do you want to first I'm sure everybody knows exactly who you are, and you need no introduction, but do you want to do a quick intro and tell everyone who you are?
Who I am. I tell you, I'm Phil the Power Taylor, 16 times champion of the world. Well,
16 times.
ex-champion of the world. But yeah, loving every minute of it. Loving it.
16
So
times
far,
world
so
champion.
far. We've got the seniors world championships now, so that's what we're working on.
Exactly. So just a quick rundown for everyone who's watching now that Phil reached out to me recently. Phil's always been known for looking at ways to improve athletic performance as well as health and well-being. He's always been known as an out-of-the-box thinker. He's come across keto and carnivore, that sort of lifestyle, and looked into it. Found me on a podcast, I believe. Phil reached out to me through the share chat, and then we began working together. Yeah, and
it's been good. I'm enjoying it.
Fantastic.
It's nice to do different things, Richard. It is, honestly. I mean, over the years, ever since I was little, really, I've been on and off diet. Probably most of the people watching have been exactly the same. But this is the first time, and I can say this hand on heart, that I don't want to change. I'm enjoying it. It's like, we always say it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. And every time somebody used to say that to me over the years, it was in my head and I couldn't stick to it. But now, especially now I've got more time at home, living out of hotels, country to country. I mean, we were literally worldwide, week in and week out. So it was difficult to get your regime to eat as what you should be eating, So it's a lot more easier now, but this is what I want to do now for the rest of my life because I'm enjoying it and it's easy. The first thing my wife used to say to me when I wake up in the morning, "What do you want for your tea?" I mean, I don't know. What do you want for your tea? It's 7:30 in the morning. But we don't say that no more because it makes things simple. We haven't got as many dishes. The sink's empty, which is another one as well. It saves you a fortune on washing up. So it's a great lifestyle and it makes you feel good. That's the main thing. I've always wanted to get up in the morning and get that feel good feeling, which I never had before. I was always like jet lagged and in a muzzy in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was so weird. I mean, most people will know this.
Know that feeling all too well. And Phil Escott, we had on a little while ago, has just given you a hey, Phil. So glad to see that you're still on it. So that's Phil Escott giving you a shout out there, and lots of praise coming from the live chat as well from everybody. So yeah, brilliant. Thanks for coming on. But let's get back to your journey. So I mean, you're currently what was your driving factor for beginning the journey? For most people, it's weight loss. But I feel that for you, it was a different driving factor. Do you want to go into that?
There was a few things. I committed to the seniors for Jason Tame and Jason Francis. Jason Tame is a promoter. Jason Francis is a promoter, but he's Ronnie O'Sullivan's manager. That's how people might know Jason Francis. And Jason Tame's got a company called Modus, which do a lot of promotion work in the darts. So they've started the seniors off. They've asked me if I'll commit. Which I have. I've signed a contract, so I've committed. So started off thinking, just do what you used to do, turn up. But I haven't really been competitive for like 5 or 6 years. And I didn't realise how hard it is to get back into being match fit. Like a footballer, it's okay on the training ground, but when you're on the pitch, when you're under pressure, you seem to lose something. Then my hip, I needed a new hip. So I booked that up. And it was on the 28th of last month, and I cancelled it. I'm going to rearrange it. If I have to do, then I'll get it done again. But I've decided, did a lot of research, that I want to see if going a bit more carnivore, doing everything right, having a bit more fat in my diet rather than carbohydrates, get my weight down and see how I feel then, and see if I can do it without having operations. Operation I want is the last choice, cutting bits out of my body. So I've decided that I'm just going to give it a go, see how I feel, and if everything's fine, then that's me done for the rest of my life. I won't need a new one. So that was the main one. Then obviously, I wanted my darts to become better. So I had a little gym built in the back of my yard with a little bit big shed thing. And then, so going there, I do a few shoulder exercises now every night. Don't do a lot. I'm only in there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes till I get that really good burn on my shoulders. And then I stop. And it's working wonders. I'm hitting more 180s now, I think, than when I was at my best. But what all I've got to do is put that now onto the stage. So I've got to work out now that little gap in the middle, which is that little bit there, I think. So we'll do it. We'll put it right. And you know, thanks to people like yourself who were giving me advice. It's great. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's absolutely life-changing. And I think, you know, the bait that catches that fish initially for most people is weight loss. But the weight loss is a side effect of being healthy and living the lifestyle, as you correctly coin it. So you've lost a little bit of weight to date as well. How much are we down so far, Phil?
I've probably done up to now about 2 stone. And then I've just started to plateau a little bit. So I'll be ringing you tomorrow. I'll be ringing you tomorrow. Get ready. Get your phone charged. So I've got a few things in my own mind which I'm going to run over with you. Like today, I'm having a bit of carbs today, but not a lot. I've had like 25 grams of boiled rice just this morning. I even ate the rice on its own, and I loved it.
Yeah, so, was it white rice?
White rice. Yeah.
Good.
Jasmine.
So just for the listeners and the viewers, white rice is lectin free, so it is the better option of the rices.
So I know now, because you've learned me, that's 14 grams of carbs. And then a little bit later, I'm just going to have a little bit of ribeye, not much, but a good, say, 20 grams of protein. And then for my tea, I'm having a curry with some more rice. So I'll probably have about 50 grams of carbs today, maybe a bit more, maybe 60. But I'm just going to build my energy level up a little bit. And then tomorrow, I'm going to go clean again. So maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I'm going to run through you. I'm going to go clean with no carbohydrates at all. And then maybe Thursday, maybe 50 grams of carbs. And then I was going to go then to Sunday and maybe have 100 to 150 grams of carbs, just to carb load a little bit. So I'll be working with you tomorrow.
It'll be an interesting chat. I mean, again, it's just to reiterate to the guys listening that we support all aspects of low carb, ketogenic, and carnivore. And these changes are incremental. We're all on our own journey. Not everyone is as strict as myself. I'm 0 carb generally, but obviously, this is an incremental change for Phil. So we're gravitating into this.
I have been 0 carb for weeks, Richard, as you know. So it's a change. But when I go into anything, I have to go into it 100%. I can't do it any other way. Otherwise, I can't do it. Like even me cooking things, anything with Tefal on, anything with a non-stick coating, I've given away. My air fryers, they've gone. So everything now, I'm back. I bought this one yesterday, and I can't plug in the halogen oven because it's metal, stainless steel, and it's glass. So I'm cooking in that now because I know that the non-stick coating can give you cancers. So that goes out the window. I don't just cook for myself. I do it for my grandkids, my wife, and you know what I mean, my daughters and my sons. So I want them to eat as healthy as I can. My saucepans are made out of titanium, which is the hardest metal, so it doesn't give any taste out at all. So if you boil water in a titanium saucepan, it's just water. It's a bit expensive, but they're a lifetime warranty, so you save your money in the long run. So I do go in 100%, and I love it. With your world, I find your world, your expertise, it starts at this, and then it just goes like this.
Yeah. And
it doesn't stop. It's like a black hole in the universe. You just keep learning all the time, and I love it. Love it.
Yeah, it is. And going back to the conversation we had with Dr. Rachel, who was just on now, it begins with restricting bread or lowering carbohydrate, and then it gravitates into changing other foods, removing certain plants and phytoalexins. And then we look at other external factors. Now, just to show people how strict and dedicated Phil is to this. So Phil recently competed in the seniors darts tournament at Yeovil, stayed in a hotel, and Phil took his own camping stove. so he could make his own food in his hotel room. I mean, if that's not dedication, I don't know what is, so dedicated to the cause.
The maid asked me for my autograph, so it was Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah,
It's great.
I thought it was brilliant. Yeah,
and
I thought it was
another
brilliant.
thing as well, people, what you don't realise as well, because you're eating a normal diet, I'd say a normal diet, where you're eating most things. But when I was doing it last month, I was sticking to one thing, so I was having a chicken breast. But when you start introducing other foods, which your body doesn't accept, like whey protein, I didn't realise whey protein knocked me bandy. I don't know why, it makes me ever so strange. So I've had to cut whey protein out.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I had a food intolerance test saying as cow's milk and whey protein isn't so good for me. So I tried it. I've been trying it, and it did send me a little bit bandy. And the day that I played at Yeovil and I got beat on the Saturday afternoon, I had whey protein for my breakfast. So I've dropped one there. So we can put that right. We can move forward and put it right.
Exactly. I mean, just to circle back to that, the first match that you played in, you were the outsider for, and you won that comfortably. I think at one point it was looking at to be 4 legs to 1 victory, wasn't it? But you sailed through. I think you had the most amount of 180s, and then day 2 again. I think a number of factors. Again, food related, wrong food choice, but also the fact that you're back to competition, you're standing for a long period of time, and what people don't understand is, I mean, that you need to be match fit. Standing in that position is stress on the body, and I know, I'm sure you won't mind me saying, but you're 62, is that right?
Yeah, 62.
62 years young and still fighting fit and looking only 40, Phil.
It's only a number. It's only a number.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
Great.
But as we adopt now deeper and become a little bit more strict, the body's going to produce and utilize more beta hydroxybutyrate, and it's going to block NLRP3 inflammasome. It's going to lower inflammation. These aches and pains will begin to dissipate. So the next match I think is September the 2nd in York, and you're going to be a lot fitter for that. And the beauty is as well that BHB, beta hydroxybutyrate, breaches the blood-brain barrier when glucose can't. So your concentration now when you're practicing is on point, isn't it? I mean, you're hitting those 180s as if you were back on the main tour, which is really exciting. We just need 100%. To transfer that now. Yeah.
The only thing now I've got to work on is like my fitness of walking up and down, because my hip was killing me all the time. I never used to do so much practice. I got a little bit lazy. So now when I go in tomorrow, it's at least tomorrow afternoon, 2 hours practice. I shall go in a minute. Once I finish the podcast, I'll go in and have a practice for about 1 hour. But I'm trying to watch the cricket at the same time because England are doing okay in the Ashes so far. So so I know I've got to get my fitness up, like the walking fitness, so I can spend more time on my feet. So So first thing in the morning, I've got some electric bikes. Well, me and my missus have got electric bikes, so I'm going to go out in the morning first thing before coffee or anything else, because we normally have a cup of coffee. I'm going to go and have a little cycle. Maybe, I mean, you can do 4 or 5 mile on an electric bike in 10-15 minutes. You know what I mean? So I spend half an hour, just toddle around, nothing strenuous. I'm not in the Tour de France yet, so just enjoy it. And then just get that blood going and get your hips going and get your shoulders going. And then I've got 3 or 4 hours then to get ready for practice. Yeah.
So I mean, this is a multi-stage approach, isn't it, for health, well-being, weight loss, and for athletic performance? Because I mean, that's what people don't understand. One of the advantages of living this lifestyle and producing ketones is, BHB helps you concentrate. So what I found in Yeovil was that towards the latter end of that match, because the lights were so intense, you could see the sweat was dripping off everybody up there, and you could see the other players were starting to wane at the end. Concentration was lagging, but you were 100% focused.
I was okay. I had my electrolytes, but on stage at Yeovil it was over 52 degrees. That's how hot it was. When you think outside it might be 30 degrees in Spain, it was 52 degrees. It's like being in a sauna.
Wow. And standing for that long time. So I mean, all of those effects or external factors are going to have massive effect on the body, especially in regards to standing that long, the concentration for that long. As you say, rehydration, and again, that's something you were doing, wasn't it? Was using my electrolytes to rehydrate, to stay, well hydrated on stage. But it's exciting stuff, because people look at this as a weight loss thing, and then they look at it as health, which is exactly why you're doing it. But you wouldn't have thought that living this lifestyle would help improve athletic performance to the point of of concentration. But concentration is incredibly important, especially if somebody begins to overtake you in a professional match. And it's easy to become sidetracked and throw the towel in. And that's what I noticed with you. Your concentration was 100% on point. And I'll be honest, I'm super excited for September the 2nd, because I think we're going to see a new Phil Taylor. I think we need to. I think so. I mean, so you've recently started to introduce a little bit of carb, but I mean, prior to that, we've experimented with strict carnivore as well, haven't we?
Yes.
So what were you typically eating on the strict carnivore days?
Before, I mean, I did have a little bit of cabbage and a little bit of broccoli, maybe once a week. But mainly, I'd have in the morning, I'd have an omelette with a little sprinkling of cheese, maybe 3 eggs, but I'd only have 2 yolks and 3 egg whites. So that'd be my first meal. And then at dinner time, I love chicken, breast of chicken, but I pound it down to about the thickness of my little finger, then I pan fry it. And I pan fry it, I put it on fairly warm at the beginning, and then I put coconut oil in, and I do it about 2 minutes one side, flip it over 2 minutes, then I put some butter in and turn it right down to about medium, and then I cook it until I get my temperature of 165 in the middle. I've got a little thermometer that you stick in, a little probe, so I get it to 165, and believe me, it's the nicest chicken you'll ever eat, and it's lovely. And I used to just eat that on its own. Maybe I should have a little bit of avocado with it, really, but I thought maybe the fat from the coconut oil and the butter would be okay. And then a little bit later on at night time, which was about 220 grams in cold weight, in raw weight, which is probably about 60 grams of protein. So probably up to about 80 grams of protein there. And then I'd maybe have a little bit more chicken a little bit later on, and try and get my protein up to about, because you set a figure at 190. Which you think it's easy, but it actually isn't. But you have to get used to it and do it. But it become quite easy towards the end, especially eating the chicken like that. It's great.
Yeah, and it is important to remember that lean meats are fantastic, but we need the fat as well within the diet, isn't it? Which is where you were adding the fats in. So I mean, we always try to promote eating protein with fat, and we've experimented. I mean, the reason that you gravitated more towards the leaner cuts is because you didn't seem to get on very well with. I think eggs seem to be problematic, didn't it? Because we believe it's the overmucoid, and which is a protein in the egg, and the fattier cuts of steak, I think, were causing issues early on. So it's all about experimenting and seeing what works for you, isn't it? So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Do you know what I've done though, Richard, with the eggs? I noticed when I had a boiled egg, because the yolk was all in one piece, obviously, that's when I was getting heartburn off it, acid reflux. But when I mix the egg up, so it's all mixed together, don't get it. So I've had an omelette this morning, and I haven't had it. I haven't had it at all. And then for dinner, say dinner time, I'm going to put some little chicken wings in, because I've got the fat on it. So I'm getting some chicken wings, maybe six chicken wings or something. And then, because Karen likes them as well, so she'll finish the rest off. Because you can get like a big box of chicken wings from the supermarket for £1. You know what I mean? It's great. It saves you money, and it saves you a lot of washing up as well. But and then for tea time, I've got ribeye out defrosting, so we'll slice that up then, and we'll make a curry. Karen makes her own curry, so I think she's doing a balti. We'll have onions in, mushrooms, and then we'll have a little bit of rice with that. Maybe about 50 grams of rice, which is 100 grams of rice is 28 grams of protein. 28 grams of carbohydrate, sorry. So that's today, and then tomorrow, as I said, I'll go back. I mean, because sometimes, I mean, yesterday I didn't have that much food, and I get on the scales and I put half a pound on. It doesn't make sense. So but it's only water weight, obviously. But I'm still working at it and I'm enjoying it and I'm going to keep going. I'm too addicted to it now. And it's so easy. Anybody struggling with the weight, believe me, you don't crave for anything. I mean, these sweets, they can be in there, they've probably gone rotten now and don't even want to look at them. Cakes, biscuits, not interested. Bread, there's bread on the side there. That could we do Robbie's daddy's his breakfast and everything. But other than that, we don't eat it. Never.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And again, I mean, it's just to reiterate the fact, isn't it, that it is a journey. Some of the foods that you consume, it's about experimenting and see what works for you.
Yeah.
And I think over the next couple of weeks, we're going to gravitate into being a little bit more strict. We're going to look at the macro ratios of your fats to protein. Obviously, would aim to reduce or completely remove the carbohydrate, but it is been an interesting journey, isn't it? Because you were thriving in the beginning, and then there was sort of a dropout in between with mental clarity and things, isn't it? And a stall with weight loss, and then it's almost done a sort of a 360, and now you're back. Sort of looks to be gravitating back more into a more animal-based type. Yeah.
You've got to get used to it. You find red meat. Red meat can be a little bit hard to digest for some people. Depends on you.
It takes time.
I think over the years, because I've been on different diets and everything else, and done this and done that, I think it's knackered my stomach up a little bit. So I think I've got to get my body right first. I think my body's got repaired and get running properly, like having your engine retuned. I think that's the only thing I can put it down to. And then start from afresh. So I'm going to keep doing it, as I say, and then hopefully my body will repair itself and then can run properly. Because I'm having no heartburn now at all. Before I was having tablets from the chemist every 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I was having heartburn every day. Drink of water would have given me heartburn.
For just that one advantage, it's worth continuing with the lifestyle. And I think when we looked into this, it was the high lectin content in the food that you were consuming. The lectins were binding to the mast cells and causing the release of histamine, which was leading to acid reflux. And when you took certain foods out, because early on we were still consuming things like tomatoes and bell peppers, things that do contain lectins. And when we took those out, the acid reflux just cleared up almost overnight, I think.
Tomatoes was a big
tomatoes, And again, within the keto community, tomato is a staple. It's one of the ones that we are told that we can consume ad lib, but it again, it just adds more weight to the fact that these plants contain these phytoalexins, these plant toxins, which cause issues within the body, and it goes well beyond. I mean, we remove grain, so that we remove the breads, the pastas, the rice, and all this because of a carbohydrate binding protein called lectins in the form of wheat germ agglutinin. But what people don't understand is that these plants contain lectins in the form of phytohemagglutinin. So we need to remove these foods, and when we did, you massively repaired and recovered from this acid reflux. But it is a journey. We're getting there. I think it's an exciting journey. I'm really excited to see your progress and how you develop in regards to health. And I think it's one of these things that we can't fail at, because from one aspect or another, you're either going to lose a ton of weight and be healthier and improve athletic performance and make this big comeback in the seniors tour, or it's going to be two of those at least. The
best results, Richard, for me, is the tape measure.
Of course it is, yeah, exactly.
Where I got one, I did one measurement just above my belly button. So I went round my waist, just above my belly button. And when I first started, I was 53.5 inches around my belly button. So God knows what I was like when I was sitting down. So then I did it this morning. And I was 47.5. So it's coming down. My tracksuit bottoms, where I was going to throw them in the bin because they were too tight, and now too baggy.
Yeah.
Even though your weight loss is like plateaued a little bit, my inches are coming down. And that's a bit strange as well. It's weird. So just going to carry on, keep going, and then see what happens. And I'm not going to stop, because this is so easy to do.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people seem to not understand, is that they overcomplicate things in regards to what to eat, timings to eat. And it's just simply a case of eating intuitively. Eat when you're hungry. If you're not hungry, don't eat. We went through a spell initially with you where you said, look, I'm not hungry, and we've almost had to force feed, isn't it?
Yeah. 2 days I never had nothing to eat. 2 days I wasn't hungry. And on the third day I had to make myself. It's weird.
Yeah. And that's fantastic. I mean, fasting, we've covered the benefits, the ups and the downs of fasting and the benefits of autophagy and things, but it's, to go 2 days fasted without feeling hungry is incredible. But for the sake of testing your metabolism for the next stage that we're going to implement, we have actively tried to increase the protein and fat, haven't we? And I remember when we had the conversation via Zoom, I'll never forget the look on your face when we worked out how much protein you were eating intuitively, and then I think we almost quadrupled this, didn't we?
I thought you'd lost it, honestly. He's gone. He's not right. How can anybody eat all that food and shed weight?
But you did.
I'll tell you what's in my mind now, Richard. We've been down local supermarket this morning, and we bought a big bag of rice. Honestly, it's like that, and it was £7. So I mean, there's probably 100 portions of rice there, so it's quite cheap. You know what I mean? Anybody that's struggling a little bit, because I know the electric bills and everybody's bills have gone up. It actually isn't that much more expensive than buying junk food. In fact, I think it's a lot cheaper.
Exactly.
But if you get we use Asda, so we get their own brands. Even though I've got money, it's no good chucking it away. So we buy the yellow brand, so you can get your chicken breasts, and they're brilliant. As long as you have your little fat in there.
You also get a lot of your protein from a relative of the family as well, isn't it? I mean, when we look at the cost of living in regards to protein, I'm carnivore, all I eat is meat. I spend £60 a week on meat. That feeds myself, my wife, and my little girl. And again, just circling back to what you said, I mean, not that we're pushing or promoting rice, by any means, but it's these incremental changes, isn't it? We don't want to get everybody eating buckets full of rice.
No.
But it is these incremental. Ideally, we wouldn't put it in at all, isn't it? But we do understand that it's these incremental changes. We don't expect you to begin a journey immediately. And for you, it's this gravitation from low carb and the low impact carbs in regards to lectin content, replacing the foods that you eat with highly nutrient dense meats, quality fats, and making these incremental changes. And as we go along, we're gonna facilitate these changes, and hopefully, within the next couple of months, we'll grow.
My ambition is get me body where I feel 100%. When you wake up in the morning, I don't know if I need no carbs or I need 100 carbs a day. I don't know. So I've got to work everything out with you, and then find out exactly like you would if you had a sports car. Whatever petrol goes in that car, it's perfect for that person, because we're all different. So some people need more, some people need less. So it's a matter of working everything out, and that's what makes it so exciting. I think it's great.
And we're making progress every week, those figures and the mental clarity and your sleep, I think, which is a real important factor that we've touched base a couple of times. So we've been live since 8 o'clock this morning, so we're 5.5 hours in. But one of the reoccurring topics keeps coming up is sleep. Some people say that they struggle with sleep, but you've noticed a massive improvement in your sleep since removing a lot of these toxic foods, isn't it?
Yeah, not every night. I mean, during lockdown and just before, we were waking up every night on the dot. Poof, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, watching the TV, try and get back to sleep again. And a lot of people were doing the same thing. I don't know why, whether it was these injections they give us, I don't know. But something was not right, seriously. Yeah. And every night, bang, wide awake, 3 o'clock, putting the TV on. And then by the time 7 o'clock comes, you won't go back to sleep now. You've gone tired. So there was a lot of nights. It all depends on the weather as well. I mean, there's been a couple of nights up in Stoke here where it's been red hot. So, we woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning because we're both red hot, even though we've only got like a little throw over on the bed, about as thick as a tea towel. But it's just the weather as well can affect your sleep.
Thank you, Phil.
I'll give you a ring back dinner time.
No problem at all. No worries. Look forward to chatting. Take care, man. There we are. That's the legendary 16-time world champion.
Hey.
Hello, Emily.
Coach Emily.
Hello.
Hello. Have you met Richard before?
No, I don't know, Richard. Hi.
No. Hey, Emily, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on board. Super excited.
I am
yeah,
super excited, actually, because Coach Emily was on the Reverse TV series. She's one of the coaches at the Steak and Butter Gang. But do you want to just quickly, for everybody that's out there, because we've got quite a massive audience today, give us your story, a little sort of sizzling short story about why you went. Yeah.
Well, I mean, now I've got to really think about this. Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. So I have been carnivore for 2.5 years. So what are you at now, Stephen? How long is your carnivore?
How long have I been carnivore? 4 years.
4 years. Okay. Well, I guess I can't ever gain on you, but over time, the amount is going to like get shorter between us in a way. So yeah, so that has been carnivore for me was like the finisher to my health journey. So my health journey was keto, fasting, extended fasting, intermittent fasting. I definitely come from that history of morbid obesity. So I was double my size in my previous life. And so I was up at 300 pounds and had been at that for many different periods during my life with mom. It was, having 4 kids and just not understanding the types of food that were ruining my life and were just making everything a disaster in my life, emotionally, energy, sleep, my capacity to just live the life that I wanted to live. And so it was the fasting journey in 2017 when I read Dr. Fung's book that kind of got me started in all this. But what happened for me is I needed that nutrition part because we know so many people now that have been on that keto and fasting journey, and it didn't solve their food addiction. It didn't solve their emotional issues with food. And because they really never got the nutrition they needed. So it was one thing like what to do in the fast. I learned how to fast like a champ and I loved it. But I really, the keto treats, the artificial sweeteners, the nuts, vegetables like that, they were not my friend and they were not helping me and they couldn't help me to make good, solid decisions for my life. I never had that food peace. So carnivore for me gave me the peace with food. It gave me that the food could be in its the spot that it needed to be as nutrition, amazing, delicious nutrition. And it gave me this huge mental clarity and the lasting success on maintenance, because there's a whole situation of that if you didn't lose the weight and gain your health in a way that is sustainable long term, as a way that you want to live your life long term, then you can't expect those results to stay with you because you're not going to like it. You're just going to abandon it. So that's my story. I lost my first 100 pounds with keto fasting, my last 50 with fasting combined with a carnivore diet. And then I've been able to get involved in coaching. I've been able to help others figure out just all the journey, this, cooking for your kids and family dynamics and how to social dynamics. And so I love just problem solving and helping people through those and just being an example of, you can do this long term. It's absolutely sustainable. And so, that's kind of where I've been.
Yeah, it's good. So losing about 150 pounds is no mean feat, is it? But we've talked a lot, Coach Emily and I, about health is actually more important because the weight loss is a side effect. And many people think it's the other way around. I've lost this weight and everything's going to get better. But no, I think once you eat the right nutrition and your health gets better, because it's the right nutrition, you're not making yourself overweight. I mean, it just seems everyone looks at it the wrong way. So, Richard, have you got a question for Coach Emily?
Yeah, I mean, what a fantastic amount of weight to lose. I mean, you've beaten me there. 150. Mine is 107. So you've beaten me hands down. Absolutely incredible. Now, a question that I get asked quite often, and probably more so for you, is the skin. You've lost all this weight. Are you left with any saggy skin or stretch marks? I'll give you, an example with me. I don't have any saggy skin, any stretch marks at all. And I was just wondering how, that is with yourself. Have you noticed the skin has regressed tight again? and I've got a theory behind this as well, but I'd just like to hear, if you've noticed anything similar in regards to stretch marks and skin elasticity. And
yeah, phenomenal. So I've always had some level of stretch marks, even as a girl I did. And so I don't know if that was just like I've struggled with my weight from that whole time. So I cannot claim there's things that I can say that are noticeable and not noticeable. I don't have hanging curtains, which is phenomenal because I would think that I would. And so I don't have the typical, when I hear about people that have lost that amount of weight and I've seen and they've had to have surgery. No, I really haven't had that. So for me, I attribute that it took 4 years to lose the weight. So it wasn't a super, super fast. And there was so much autophagy involved in that process for me. And then I also enjoy lifting weights. And so I think that probably just like the weightlifting has had a big impact. The fact that it wasn't super quick, that it happened over time, and the fact that so much of it involved water fasting. And so it just, to me, there was a lot of autophagy that was happening during that process. I definitely have some, but it's just, I don't know. It's not what you would think. So yeah, that's phenomenal for you, Richard. I know, I want to hear your theories about this. Absolutely.
So, I mean, yeah, you've just hit everything on the head there. I mean, when we're fasting, it puts us into a state of autophagy, which is cellular repair, regeneration. The body will use amyloid plaques from out the body and through scar tissues and stretch marks. And this is why, so I used to suffer with stretch marks along my arms, especially when I began sort of lifting and things. But it was only fairly recently when somebody asked me, because I used to compete professionally in the sport of bodybuilding. I won't bore you with my story, but it I was left with no stretch marks, and somebody recently asked, where has all of your loose skin gone? Where, why don't you have stretch marks? And I didn't realize this until they'd mentioned it, and I put it down to fasting and the fact that I was ketogenic. And coming back to a point that we made earlier, just by being ketogenic, your body is in a state of brown fat activation. It's in a state of mitophagy, autophagy, lipolysis, and the body will benefit from all of these things, whether we fast or not. But the fasting, especially, I believe, has cleared out a lot of these amyloid plaques and repaired my stretch marks and scar tissue. Again, I mean, I lost the weight incredibly quickly over the course of a year. It was 107 pounds. But I didn't begin competing until a year or two after that. And I think that, I'd given the skin time to repair. The foods that we're eating, highly nutrient dense, allows the body to heal and repair. I've always been a big lover of the gristly part of my food, the parts on the chicken bone that the people don't eat, which are full of the collagen. So I've always had a high concentration of collagen in my diet since I've been living this way. All of these factors, I believe, have contributed to that. But that is a big concern, isn't it? Especially from females when they begin to lose a lot of weight, is, what about my stretch marks and loose skin? But it just seems to be a case that, the body heals itself, doesn't it? The body's an incredible machine, and it never ceases to amaze me that, what it can do when we supply it with the correct nutrients. And more importantly, when we remove these nutrients, or anti-nutrients, I should say, because they're not nutrients, in the foods that we think are nutrient dense. But yeah, that's my short version. Is that short enough for you, Steve? I usually get told off for going off on.
You see, Emily is worse than me for long answers. But yeah, I think I would just put a little caveat in there. There are some people that just have to resort to surgery. Yep. Laura Spath comes to mind, who was incredibly transparent, and I take my hat off to her for going online and saying, I'm going to have this done, because she's a big advocate of this way of eating. So I think Emily's been, not lucky, because it took her 4 years. And I think also how quickly it comes off makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's great. So Emily, this is your little guest spot. So is there anything else you want to tell us about that you're up to, like a cookbook, for instance?
Sure. So, we have all these friends in carnivore space, right? And so we had, I don't know what it is right now. Sardines or something. I'm not going to make a sardine cookbook, believe me. So back, I had tried to go up my fat and do like the higher fat version of carnivore, would have been in last year, 2022. And so during that time, I just developed tons of high fat recipes that I was trying for myself. And so I really wanted to share that with folks. So yeah, I do. I used a ton of tallow. I've developed like, and so, you know, it's like you were saying with the anti-nutrients, because we're all on different spectrums of what we can tolerate. So some of my recipes have a little bit of vanilla in there, or, you know, something, so they would be more on the keto spectrum. But yeah, I was just experimenting with so much. Like I needed sauces, I needed little candies. You know, I mean, you don't exactly need a recipe for browned butter, but we started doing all kinds of fun things with the brown butter, putting bacon in it and adding some other, you know, components to it. So yeah, I do have a cookbook for sale. It's for sale on the Mighty Networks on the Steak and Butter Gang. So that is super helpful. And, you know, for me, I have always been oriented towards a higher fat approach that has just helped my mood. It's helped my sleep. But I did this on purpose for a while. And so, yeah, that is out there, and I try to add to it. It's actually at this time right now on Mighty Networks, I can continue to edit and add. I don't have it out there available on it's not in a static form quite yet. So yeah, that was a ton of fun. Definitely put like our family favorites in there because yeah, it's a great lifestyle change, but it doesn't, there's not a lot of resources out there for ideas for getting the cookbooks going.
Go on, Rich. Have you got any more questions? I've got questions, but I know Emily, so.
Yeah, look, you fire away. I'm going to be incredibly rude for 2 seconds and nip to the loo. You've had 30 minutes away, so we've been live for just under 6 hours. But yeah, if you don't mind, I'll do that while you carry on. I'll be 2 seconds now, I promise.
Okay, yeah, we'll shut the door. Yeah. So, yeah, brilliant, Emily. So, what I'd like to ask you about is, are you still interested in priming and talking about that and food freedom? Because I think that's one of the big things that you're pretty much an expert on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is when people are new to carnivore, that carnivore can be, you're not used to eating a large amount of meats. And so we're used to, what did they tell us? Our plate was like this, and it was half was vegetables, and then maybe a quarter was meat, and I don't know what the quarter, carbs, or, you know, all these ideas that we've had about my plates or what to put this together. And so when people are thinking about what is a serving size of meat, and they're wanting all these benefits, they've heard they want the health benefits, they've, you know, heard what an incredible plan this can be, that they're going to revert to, oh, maybe one piece of chicken is the appropriate serving when we're getting started with carnivore. And so they're going to fall into under eating by just on accident and not even know that's happening. And then the thing is that yes, carnivore is a wonderful plan, but under eating on any plan is going to have a lot of problems, and you're not going to feel good. And so when people are going through carnivore, they're already going to be in a keto flu and an adaptation flu and a huge adaptation from their body getting used to things. And then if you're under eating at the same time, you're basically putting yourself into a calorie restriction mode right in the beginning of your journey. So I do think that, so priming is a 2-week period where you are feasting on meat, and you are, you know, actually eating 3 times a day plus, to really fill up every nook and cranny nutritionally, and to get your body to transfer to use animal foods instead of the other foods. So yeah, I think it's like the best way to start, if you're going to start this out, is to take a priming period and then to let your appetite naturally kind of fall down from there. But what can happen too is that it will prep you for fasting. So you probably start doing some intermittent fasting. And then if you're wanting to do some intentional fasting, it really sets the stage for doing that as well. So yeah, for people that don't know about that process, we're talking about priming, Richard. So I assume you've heard about this concept. This is Raymond Nazon developed this concept, but you know, we've just been teaching it for a long time in Steak and Butter Gang, and so many people have just had amazing benefits from taking this period of time of feasting. But I heard of it, something similar when I came to carnivore. There was a philosophy about that: eat as much as you want meat. But I never heard anybody sort of let's push this to the next level and actually on purpose have a period of time where you're kind of hyper nutritioning yourself to get your body really, really ready, and to have it coming over, and to that fasting will oftentimes come out of that as well. But just to make sure that you're not under eating. That you can't under eat when you're priming, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I actually did the experiment with Emily. Well, not with her personally, but at that period of time last May. And I was gobsmacked, actually, because Coach Raymond said to me, I'd been carnivore 3 years-ish, and 3 years. And he said, you're not eating enough. And so, there you are, 3 years of carnivore. And I thought I was eating enough. And somebody just eyeballed my pictures, and we were doing a weekly live stream, and he said, you're not eating enough. Now, that's why I put that comment up there, because that's a few of the messages I'm getting personally as well. Under eating is a big issue, because people want to lose that 150 pounds like Emily did, or 107 pounds like Richard did. And they think, oh yeah, eat less and move more. And that isn't going to work, because if you're underfed, undernourished, and in my diabetes and obesity practice, I have many people that are very overweight and malnourished, and they just don't get that, because they're thinking of volume of food, and the fact that they're fat must mean they're eating too much, but they're actually under eating the things they need and overeating the things they don't need. So you have to unlearn that. Sorry to nick that phrase from one of the Instagram things, but yeah, I had to unlearn and rethink. And eating more was counterintuitive, but I got it, I understood it. And I found in the first week of priming, and I don't believe in calories, but people wanted to know, so I was having 3,500, 4,000 calories for 7 days, 3 meals a day and snacks, and I lost 4 pounds. Because all of a sudden I was absolutely satiated, and the following week I didn't want to eat anymore. I mean, that's the beauty of this way of eating. It gives you that food freedom. And I used to laugh at the time. Poor old Emily's heard this a few times, but it's the only way of eating where I've ever heard someone go, do you know what, I don't want to eat anymore. That's it. I've actually had enough of eating. Whereas other types of diets are, you're always hungry, you're always thinking about food, and you're underfed. Well, this way of eating was eat so much, and the analogy of eating so much is like, the 1950s dad who would lock his son in a cupboard with 10 packs of cigarettes because he found him smoking, said, right, you smoke all them, you'll never want to smoke again, and you're not coming out until you smoked them all. And that's what it was. I was just eating so much. I suddenly got to the point where Raymond said to me, you okay for next week eating 3 meals and snacks? I was like, I don't ever want to eat. That's it. I'm genuinely actually full. And that completely changed my food freedom. And even my wife Jane said, you don't talk about food at all since you've done that. I mean, obviously, yeah, that looks nice, that ribeye looks nice, but not in between meals, not go, oh, what we're going to have tonight, what we're going to have tomorrow. There was just a complete food freedom. And I would say I've tried to get Raymond to come on, but he didn't reply properly. But anyway, Emily's come on. It would be really nice to take my hat off to Raymond and thank him for it, because it was a great thing to do. And I think under eating sounds like the best thing for people that are overweight, but it actually is about the worst thing you can do, because you just end up binging, you end up getting all the stuff that you crave. I mean, how can you crave something when you're full? You just can't, because you're full. You don't want to go out and eat stuff because you're full. And to me, that seems like a really obvious thing. Sorry, I'm talking too much. It's Emily's time, but I just wanted to say that, Emily, while you were on, that really was a revelation for me, to overeat so much and to lose that much weight. And Bart Kay had done the same thing previously at tons of food and saw the weight come off. But when I'm saying tons of food, it really literally was, quite a big volume. But then by the third week, everything had settled down, and I was just eating what I would call normal amounts of food, which was just to my hunger, and then stopping when I was full. So it was a big thing to do. And that's what Emily does. She does this chisel program, and it's based on that, isn't it? I know you then change it, and you have alternate day fasting and a few things like that as well, which is great. So what else what have you got coming up, Emily?
Let's see. Oh, I just started doing a podcast for my YouTube channel. So Stephen, I have to have you come on for a podcast. So that has been fun. So yeah, I've just been interviewing folks and stories, and that's the thing is being in this community, you hear so many incredible stories. So I just recorded with Cassie, Cassie, right, from Rivero a long time ago. And she was one, because her weight loss is up in the 300 type category. She did have some surgery. She needed some on her arms and, whatnot. But yeah, we just covered like every little basic that the two of us had been through. We're kind of like little sister twins or something. Our journeys were so parallel. And so, because we had the fasting, we had the carnivore, we had, had done a little bit of that under eating thing, had figured out that priming, had figured out that full nourishment and how much it actually really helps to the fast. So I've got that going on. You guys can check that out on YouTube. And I just had Anthony Chafee. I just recorded an interview with him that you guys had him on earlier today for a couple hours. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, he was great. I think I asked him like one question, just shoom. Like, okay, I got every anthropology, every historical data, every cultural data, all right, we've got it right now.
So yes, now come on, you've got to be better at plugging your YouTube channel. How do we find it?
I mean, I think it's just under my name. I got to get better at everything. I only have a couple of episodes out. You're right. Yes, Stephen, thank you. How do I do that a little bit better?
Be ready. And you need Richard as a guest, because if you like someone giving you a really long scientific answer,
I do.
You are looking at
the
epitome of that. And in fact, we had Richard and Anthony this morning for 3 hours, and I literally could have just turned my screen off. It was just brilliant to hear them.
The energy was pinging and rocking. Beautiful. Yeah. And so on Instagram too, I link everything on Instagram. I'm running the little bites of the interviews through that. So it's Healed by Meat on Instagram. So you guys can follow me there too.
Okay.
And I'm still, we're still doing stuff at the Steak and Butter Gang. And so I love being, just involved in community. Everything that we do here is just so community oriented with your YouTubes. And so any place where people have excitement and, problem solving or helping people figure out the steps on their carnivore journey. Like, I'm just so happy that these things are happening.
That's okay. So we've got a question here and I'm sure people use these names, so when I read them out, it sounds incredibly difficult for me, but I'm not even going to bother with that. I can't read that. But the question is, what's the proper alternative thinking we have on cholesterol? Does the body specifically try to increase cholesterol levels when it knows you're unwell, for example? Now, you don't have to answer that one, Emily. That could go to Richard. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will just say, no, I'm just going to say from my personal experience in eating the high animal fat diet, the benefits that does for me, just mentally, energy, hormonally. But no, I'm definitely going to punt that to what's actually happens to. Okay, so they're talking about when you're in an illness, is your body gonna what is it gonna raise up, and what is it gonna have to kind of bring to that site? So no, go ahead, Richard.
Thank you. It's a nice sidestep there.
Yes,
Typically, LDL cholesterol helps us fight off viruses and infections. It's imperative for life, cell formation, cell communication, nutrient absorption, nutrient transportation, the production of hormones. It's essential for healing. We need it to fight off viruses and infections. And typically LDL will come down when we have an infection. When we begin a ketogenic or carnivore lifestyle, cholesterol can increase, but this is just a cholesterol returning back to its natural physiological level, because we've had a lifetime of abuse from phytosterols, which artificially lower our cholesterol. So when we remove these and we see an increase in cholesterol by becoming keto and carnivore, it is simply the body just restoring cholesterol levels back to its natural level. And the production of ketones use the same pathway, the mevalonate pathway, which we spoke about earlier, which is the same pathway that produces cholesterol. So there may be an argument there that the production of ketones and any overspill will raise cholesterol, although that's just a hypothesis. there's no data to back that up. But what we do see is when we become keto and carnivore, the increase in cholesterol is nothing more than an elevation back to its natural physiological level. But LDL, when we become sick, in short, it typically comes down because the body's fighting that virus and infection. But an increase in cholesterol, to put into perspective, mine is double figures. It's around 10.26, 8 point something. I think my LDL is. And to be honest, I'm disappointed that it's not higher.
Yep.
Mine's
right at around, and we measure in, different forms or whatever. Mine's right around at that 230. And I'm just like, great. Like that. I don't have a concern about it. I feel so good. To me, I feel like it's, lubing my vessels with the right slippery types of substance that I need, that I'm, to me, it's just very protective. And so I celebrate the high fat and the high cholesterol. And yeah, our body's so wise. Our body has so much wisdom. That's why it's just like, okay, reverting back to these ancient ways of eating, fasting is, as ancestrally appropriate, then it lets your body turn the knobs. We don't have to turn the knobs, y'all. Our body can do it. And it's has that wisdom to adapt, and when you're fighting an infection, when things are coming up, it knows what to do.
I love that.
I'm just going to share it. Oh, sorry, Richard. Sorry. I'm just going to share a screen just very quickly. We have the technology to do this, which is a little graph about from a study. And this was recently shared by Ken Berry. But basically, a good graph to show when it looks at LDL levels. So this is as your LDL increases along here, and this is your likelihood of dying. And these are hard endpoints. These are actually people that died. It's not like guesswork. And as you can see, as your cholesterol is low, your risk of dying is nearly twice as much as here when it starts to increase. And the sweet spot there, seems to be 120 right up to 240. Even going up to 300, it still looks much better. Your chances of living with this high LDL are twice as good as over here. And these dotted lines, these areas of confidence, really, it actually shows up here that possibly LDL is protective. So I think that's pretty interesting, personally. So let me just get rid of that now, because we haven't really got time for that. So yeah, that's brilliant. Emily, that's your half an hour, which is fantastic.
Thank you. So great to be with you guys. So,
Sabrina? Do you know Dr. Sabrina Sort? Do you know her?
Of course. Yes.
You do. Let's get her to come in through the door.
Hello, beautiful. How are you?
Hi.